Hi everybody, and welcome. Behind me is the new 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Off Road. It does not have premium packages, but it is still an off-road TRD. Now, you may be wondering, how do you change the oil in this? There's no videos yet, but you want to learn, or you're just a nice guy and you want to do that for a friend of yours. That's fine too. Now, this is how you do it. Now, if you had just bought this brand new, you're going to want to at least break it in for 1,000 miles. That means driving really, how do you say it? Slow, boring. You gotta baby the crap out of this thing. First things first, you want to pop the hood. If you don't know where that is, you're on the wrong channel. Now, or the right one. A little latch under here, pull it to the left, and you can push it up. You're also going to want to know where the dipstick is. Pretty much self-explanatory. And you're going to pop oil cap and drop it like I just did. That's great. And I just kind of throw this out here like that. Helps keep my garage nice and clean. But the main part is I can get on this instead of the cement. It provides a little bit of a softer surface for an older guy like me when you have knees that hurt all the time. It's very handy. Now you're gonna want to grab 12mm socket to get this skid plate off. And there is our oil cap. Definitely need that. This is our skid plate. It's pretty strong, but would you trust it, or would you rather trust steel, or even thicker aluminum? That's the question. Now, as you can see, oil filter is right there, and that's gonna be a Fram equivalent 4967, I think. For most Toyotas, almost all Toyotas, that's gonna be the same filter. Now the second thing you're gonna do is remove the second skid plate. Alright, next you're gonna want a 14mm socket, preferably 6-point. You get a 12-point socket, you might round off the bolt head. That's no bueno. Especially if this is your first oil change, it might be a little tight. Make sure it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You want to just crack it. Alright. Now, oil's already starting to drip out onto my concrete, and that's not good. There. Now, I want to make sure the direction of how that oil is going to go. You want to make sure it's not going to go all over your floor and go right into your pan. But first, I want to get gloves. Gloves and a paper towel or rag. Something to clean. Keep things clean. You really don't want oil all over your garage. Or someone else's garage, for that matter. Alright, now that it's loose, there's also going to be a little gasket on there. Now this looks like this gasket is kind of stuck on there. So we're just going to let it be. And yeah, the oil's not going to be very dirty after the first 1,000 miles, but it's the break-in period. I always want to change your oil after the break-in period. I don't care what the salesman or anybody at dealerships say. It's just best. Change the oil after 1,000 miles or 2,000 miles, like my WRX was 2,000 miles. Alright. Almost done draining. Now, move this a little more so that if it decides to change its projection, you'll catch it. Now, clean my hands on. Alright, let that drain for a while. While that's draining, we're gonna get the oil filter prepped. Now, oil filter, bring you up here. Also, want to make sure you wipe off your drain plug, because there might be some metal shavings right here that you'll want to clean off. Usually there's a magnet inside this that collects all the shavings, keeps them out of your engine. But it's gonna be pretty fairly clean your first time. Alright, so that is done draining. We're gonna go ahead and put that plug back in because we kind of need this drain pan or drain catch, whatever you want to call this green bucket thingy. We're gonna need that for the oil filter. So put this drain plug back in. Now, give it a little wipe down with a towel, but I'm just gonna make sure you use a 6-point socket or wrench. At least it's 6-point. That's what you want to make sure. And tighten that up. Not too tight, but tighten up. It's not gonna leak on you. Wipe all that down, make sure there's no residual oil. Clean that all up nice and clean. Alright, now we can move on to the oil filter. Alright, so with oil filters, it's nice to have like a strap wrench or some type of tool, which I do have. But sometimes you don't need them. Sometimes you can just reach up here and loosen them yourself. But coming from the factory, first oil change, they may be a little tight. Piece of crap tool. There we go. Now, it looks like it's crushing it, doesn't it? slowly but surely it's moving. Might have to break a strop wrench out for this. I was hoping this would work. It's moving. Oh, wow, it's slipping too. There we go. Now, hopefully, I won't have to deal with this anymore after the first time, because I will be putting on a filter that's got grip on here, and I won't be putting it on so super tight, but tight enough it won't leak. Now, the nice thing about Toyotas, they plan for this. They look at how they make this. It's all nice, where it's gonna drip in a specific direction. But if we had the skid plate on, they would make a huge mess. Plus, you can't really get up into here very well. We're just gonna pull this filter off. Now, when you get to the end of the threads, you're gonna want to be very gentle. It might all of a sudden dump a whole bunch of oil. And I can feel right about here, we're getting to the end. Alright. I just tend to tilt it up. That drains it pretty good. Alright. I can just drop that filter in there. We don't need it anymore. We're gonna let this drain a little bit while we grab the other filter. Alright, so now we have that draining. We're going to start prepping everything else. So right now we have about 7 quarts of oil here. You look up online, it says anywhere from like 5.5, 5.6 to like 6.2, 6.3. You're just better off just getting a little extra just in case if you later on down the road you have a leak and you want to add some oil to it or whatever, you can. So it says 6 point something. We're gonna go with 7. By 7, we're only gonna put in about 5, and then we're gonna check it. And then we're gonna add another one, and we're gonna check it. And then from there on, we'll check it. Also, filter, you're gonna want a 4967 Fram, or you can get the Toyota equivalent. Don't know what that number is, but it's everywhere online. First thing we're gonna do though, we're gonna grease this, or oil this gasket here. Just take a little bit of oil, like that. And then just coat the gasket nice and evenly. Everywhere is good. All right, now we're gonna put it on. A couple things we wanna do before we put the filter on is we wanna clean this. Make sure that there's no dirt, oil, clean it all nice. Make sure this little spindle here is tight, it's not loose. Good common practice for everyday oil changes. Not that you're gonna change it every day unless you work at a place where it changes oil every day. So grab a rag, just wipe this down. Might be better if I used my other arm. Yeah, there we go. Now, after we've oiled up that gasket, I'm gonna put this baby on. Notice the grip texture here. Next time I take this guy off, oh, it's gonna be so much better, so much easier. I might be able to do it by hand. Depends on how tight I make it too. You're gonna want it pretty tight. You don't want that coming off, and you don't want it leaking. All right, that's pretty tight. Any tighter, it's gonna be a pain in the butt getting off. We're not gonna put the skid plates on just yet because we wanna make sure it doesn't leak. And also, we'll make sure we clean up everything, because you'll get drips. And you don't want drips giving you a false sense of, oh, it's leaking, when it's not. Then you're just wasting your time looking for a leak. And it's just residual. Alright. Now, we're gonna put some oil in it. We're gonna start it, and then we're gonna check it. And then we're gonna probably put some more oil in it, because we're probably not gonna put enough. One more time. Alright, now that we have at least 5.5 quarts in there, now we can put the cap back on, clean all this up, make sure there's still oil in places you don't want, but not much you can do about it other than spray your entire engine bay down. I'm not going to do that. Alright. So now we're going to start it up. I just love this truck. Look how nice this is. They did a really good job. I really like it a lot. This truck is amazing. Start it up. We're going to look at the dash. Make sure there's no pressure, oil pressure symbol. Assuming oil pressure is up, because it's not alarming out. Now we're gonna go underneath. We're gonna look, make sure we're not dripping anywhere. We got nothing going on here. It looks good. We're gonna say that that system is sealed. Alright. We're gonna shut her off.
Avoid things like impeachment.
Shut her off. Let it sit for a bit. Let all that oil come back down. Check the oil here. I always grab the tip so it doesn't fling oil when you pull it out, because that would fling. So we're at the very bottom mark right here, and we want to be a little bit more than that. Wipe that off before putting it back in. And I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs barking. They hear me talking and they think I'm talking to somebody. There's no one here. It's just me. So we're gonna add some more oil. So that mark on the dipstick, you have your full and low, and that's about a quart in between. You want to put it about right in the middle, preferably. So let's get some rags around here so we don't spill. And this time you don't have to start it up. You can just check the oil. The reason why you start it up is because you want that oil to circulate and get into that oil filter. You're gonna fill that oil filter up with more oil. So after you start it, you don't have to start it again. We've already checked to see if the system was sealed. It is. Now we're just checking oil level. So right here, I don't know if you can see that, you got the one dot here, another dot here, and the oil level is right a little bit high, but that's good. You want it in between. But we're also gonna double check this. Never hurts to double check or triple check. Only hurts when you're doing quadruple checks or anything like that, because it's just a waste of time. So now, double checking, and we got a little bit of oil up here. That's just because it's in the dipstick tube draining down, but I can tell the level is right about at the top. And you want to double check, triple check. Boom. Yeah, right there at the top of that dot. That's like perfect. Don't want any more oil than that. Now we can finish setting everything, or button everything up. Now that we have thoroughly checked everything, the system is sealed, we have no leaks. We do have a drip, but that's the air conditioner, pretty sure. We will double check that. And this drip is right here. Oh, that's oil. That's residual. Came on the back side of this. Any other drips of oil? Just check around the drain plug. Check around the filter. Everything looks good. All right, let's put this skid plate back on. Always put your bolts in first by hand. You don't want to cross thread them. My last bolt. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and cinch these up as far as I can by hand before I use a wrench. Now typically you don't tighten it all the way until you get them all snug. Then you go through and make sure they're all tight. Now for the other skid plate. And we're done. Alright, and that is how you do an oil change on a 4th gen Toyota Tacoma with the off-road TRD package. A little longer than I thought it would take, but you got 2 skid plates you gotta go through first before you even do the oil change. And yeah, that's about it. Pretty easy. Even though I'm huffing and puffing, it's kind of warm where I'm at. See you in the next one.